Good evening, students. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
So, how you wrote your exams? All of you? How you wrote your unit exams? When is the chapter we have for exam? On what date we have taught to have it?
Next Monday, ma'am.
Next Monday. Epsilon Academy. Epsilon Academy.
Yes, ma'am.
These people will be having next Monday chapter exam.
Sorry, ma'am.
Biology chapter exam. Once communicate that is how do organisms reproduce.
Next Wednesday, no?
Huh?
Which day?
Next Monday. What is the date? Next Monday means
19th.
19. Next,
Okay.
not 19th. 26th. 26th.
Okay, ma'am. 26th.
These people are having exam, so they'll write on 26th. So you just once communicate in the WhatsApp also. Chapter name is how do organisms reproduce.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we start the class? So where we are in the last class? Have you understood between heterozygous, homozygous, dominant and recessive? All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is heterozygous condition means? Tell me the genotype for heterozygous. Tallness. Can one of you tell? Arman? What is heterozygous? Tell me. What is a heterozygous condition? Unmute yourself, all of you. Unmute yourself. Rita, tell me what is heterozygous condition means?
Ma'am, capital A and capital A.
Capital A,
Capital A.
A. Heterozygous. What is heterozygous condition?
Capital A and small a.
Capital A and small a. Now you tell me in terms of tallness. Durlab, tell me in terms of tallness. Heterozygous condition means? Durlab, please unmute yourself. Nobody is unmuting also when I'm telling also. Now from now onwards, I'll ask all of you to switch on your videos so that I can see whether you're listening or not listening. All of you switch on your videos. Open, all of you open up. Open your videos. All of you. Yes, open your videos, all of you. Start your video, all of you. Remaining all, not Durlab. I'm asking everyone to switch on your videos. I want to see you all. Switch on your videos fast. So what is heterozygous means, Aditi? What is heterozygous? Harita, what is heterozygous?
Mom, it is A and capital A and small a, mom.
Tallness, in relation to tallness, can you tell me what is heterozygous?
Mom, it consists of two different types of alleles.
Now for tallness, what will be the genotype for the heterozygous condition?
Mom, capital A and capital A.
Tallness.
Capital
T and small t, ma'am.
Capital T and small t. Whereas homozygous condition means what?
Mom, one type of allele, ma'am.
So can you tell me for tallness, the homozygous condition?
Small t and small t, ma'am.
Tallness.
Mom, capital T and capital T.
Whereas for shortness?
Small t and small t.
Small t and small t.
Oh, now in heterozygous condition, capital T and small t, which one is the dominant allele?
Capital, ma'am.
And recessive allele is?
Small.
So which one will be expressed in heterozygous condition? Dominant or recessive?
Dominant, ma'am.
So what will be phenotypically seen?
Recessive.
Phenotypically, what we can see? What we can see with our eyes? We'll see tallness or shortness.
Tallness, ma'am.
That is called phenotype. Okay, please don't forget. Phenotype means what we can see with our eyes. Genotype means the genes inside the body. Okay. So the next. So genotype is the genetic makeup of an individual. Okay. So here you can see this is the genotype. WW or this is called as genotype. Whereas phenotype are the observable characters of an organism. It is a result due to the expression of the genotype. Here, the color we see is the phenotypic character. Okay. So coming to the hybrid, offspring of a cross between the two different parents is called as a hybrid. If we cross between two completely different parents and different organisms, whatever the offsprings we get, they are called as hybrids. Like a cross between a lion and a tiger, we get a different hybrid. Okay, a cross between a lion and a wolf, a cross between a cow and a bull. All these, whatever the offsprings we get, are called as hybrids. Today is the generation of hybrids. In case of plants, most of them are the hybrid varieties only nowadays and available in the market. Next, coming to the F1 generation. F1 generation is known as Filal generation. What is F1 generation known as? It's known as the Filal generation. So these are the offsprings of the first generation. Okay, whatever offsprings we get in the first generation, we call them as F1 generation or Filal generation. The subsequent generations are known as F2, F3, and F4 generations. Okay, the subsequent generations are referred as F2, F3, and F4 generation. Next, coming to the Punnett square. It is a diagram to predict the outcome of the particular cross. That is known as the Punnett square. Next one is the codominance, the situation where neither the allele is dominant or recessive. Such a situation is known as the codominance. So here you can see the example over here. Okay, so this is the genotype. Okay, B is the dominant one, whereas the C is the recessive one. Y is the recessive one. Okay, so when complete dominance, what will happen? Only the blue color will be expressed. No yellow color will be expressed, as we have studied before. But there are few cases where both the blue as well as the yellow color can be expressed together. Such a condition is known as codominance. And another condition is known as incomplete dominance, where neither the blue color or yellow color will be expressed. We completely get a different color. Such one is known as the incomplete dominance. Understood, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so please note down the definitions. If you have any doubts, you please ask me now itself. Please ask. Don't say, if you don't ask me, I will not be able to know that you have understood it or not. Please ask the doubts. Over, shall I move on to the next slide?
1 minute, ma'am.
Shall I move on?
Yes, ma'am.
This we'll see later if there's a evolution involved. So as we know, please again we'll note down the definitions. So now the chapter becomes. Now we have finished the definitions. Now I'll be telling you all. We'll start with the chapter. So the transfer of characters, or you're able to see this one. 1 minute, I'll move this one down. The transfer of characters or traits from the parents to their offsprings is called heredity. Okay, The transfer of characters or traits from the parents to their offspring is called heredity. Now coming to the variations. The difference between the characters or traits among the individuals of the same species are called variations. The differences between the characters or traits among the individuals of the same species are called variations. So how do variations get accumulated? Means why there is a difference. So when the organisms reproduce, especially in the sexual reproduction, we have discussed in the previous chapter also. Okay, when the organisms reproduce, each offspring will be showing minor variations. Why they will be showing these minor variations? They will be showing these minor variation due to inaccuracy in DNA copy. When there is an inaccuracy in DNA copying, they will be showing minor variations, and these variations are less in asexual reproduction compared to that of the sexual reproductions. Some variations are very useful and they will help the organisms to adjust to the changing environment. So such variations do not help the organism to, some variations will not help the organism to adjust to the changing it, whereas some will be variations will be useful to help the organism adjust to the changing environment. So those organisms which did not get adjusted to the changing environment, they usually die and become extinct. The best examples are what? Can you tell me some examples? Can you tell me? Yes. So what is a variation? Please write down the definition. The difference, I already you have wrote up. The difference occurring between the parents and the offsprings and amongst the siblings is called as variations. Only these variations are inheritable, which arise in the germ cells of the cell. So when is the variation which is inheritable? Means when it is being passed on to the next generations. When the variation means when the inaccuracy in DNA or copy occurs in the germ cells that produce the gametes, only those variations can be passing on to the next generation. So it can be, the variations can be either due to combination of the genes in the chromosome forming species or due to mutations. Okay, so you can see here, this is one example I have given from giraffe itself. There are many colored giraffes which have been produced due to these variations. And also you can see here, if you consider this figure as this is from your textbook itself, if you consider this as your human being, so the offsprings are, the body structure is similar. All of them have 2 ears, one head, a neck and everything. Okay, one small face and everything. But as they go generations on generations, so you can see the second generation, the head color is blue, red in color. Whereas for this offspring, the neck is green in color. And as they go on, the ears are in different colors for different offspring. So these are due to variations. Variations, the best variations make us fit to survive in the surrounding environment, whereas some variations are useful, some may not be useful. Due to these, if the variations are not useful, what will happen? The organism will die and become extinct. Understood, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I move on to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the importance of the variations. Please note down. I have explained it. DNA copying. What is the why the variations are very important? That is the question they usually ask, and this is the important 3 marks question. But DNA copying during reproduction is important for maintaining the body design of different organisms to survive in the existing environment. but the environment constantly changes due to changing in temperature, climate, water levels, etc. If the organism cannot adjust themselves to the changes in the environment, then their species will become extinct. If there are variations in some individuals of a species, they may be able to survive the changes in the environment. So variations in the species is necessary for the survival of different species for the evolution of new species. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I move on? So this is another same for that only. Importance of variations you can see over here. So what are the external factors that influence these variations? Due to external factors like changes, these are the external factors, change in temperature, water levels, meteoroid hits. So they bring drastic change in inch. Inch means area, small area on a, for example, your school is an inch or your society is an inch. Okay, your apartment is a inch in the complete society. Okay, a small part. Okay, where they bring drastic changes in the inch. As a result, the entire population perishes. But there are chances that few organisms survive because of variations. Okay, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you copied? Shall I move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Now coming to the laws of inheritance. Gregor John Mendel was a scientist who was recognized as the father and founder of the genetics. He is the person who proposed these laws of inheritance. Okay. He is the father and founder of the genetics. So on what plant does the Mendel conducted the experiments? He conducted the experiments on pea plant, and the scientific name of this pea plant is Pisum sativum. And this is an important 1 mark question. The scientific name of the pea plant. So he actually conducted experiments between 1856 to 1863. Okay. So basically what he's a pastor at a church. Okay. He's a pastor at a church and he used to worship God. In his free time, what he used to do, he used to do experiments on these pea plants. You know what are the pea plants? The green peas what you buy from the market. Those are called as peas, and the plant is known as a pea plant, and scientific name is Pisum sativum. Many people prior to him also did many experiments, but he is also a mathematician and a biologist. Okay, so he's a pastor, he's a mathematician, he's a biologist. Because of this, whatever the results he got, he was able to put in a mathematical way, whereas other people were not able to put in a mathematical way. Whatever he observed or whatever the results finally he got, he conducted many experiments during the almost for 10 years, and based on this he proposed laws. 3 different laws were proposed, and these laws are known as laws of inheritance. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So why the Mendel has chosen this pea plant of Pisum sativum? Okay, why he chosen is, first of all, this plant can grow very easily and can be well maintained. Okay. This is a they are naturally self-pollinating and also can be cross-pollinated. Okay. And it is an annual plant, means only 1 year it will be growing. So therefore, we can generate many generations within a short period of time. And it has several phenotypically contrasting characters. Means the characters which we can see with the naked eye only, it has several phenotypically contrasting characters. Because of all these reasons, Mendel has selected these pea plants for his experiments. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
This is another important 3 marks question. Have you written it?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I move forward?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the contrasting characters he has chosen? He has chosen.
Ma'am, what is the annual plant, ma'am?
Annual means yearly. Only yearly, by 1 year it will complete its reproduction, everything.
Okay, ma'am.
Contrasting characters he has chosen. So these are the 7 different contrasting colors he has chosen. Flower color, flower position, seed color, seed shape, pod shape, pod color, and height of the plant. The 7 contrasting features he has chosen are flower color, flower position, seed color, seed shape, pod shape, pod color, and height of the plant. So first we'll start with flower. So he has the flower color. Flower has 2 different colors, violet and dominant. So violet is the dominant trait, white is the recessive trait. Next, flower position. You can see over here. Axil, if the flowers are axil and terminal. Axil is the dominant, whereas terminal is the recessive. Axil means in between the branches. Terminal means on the top of the branches. You can see over here. Next, seed color. Yellow and green. Yellow is the dominant one, dominant trait, whereas green is the recessive trait. Next, seed shape. Round and wrinkled. Round is the dominant trait. Wrinkled is the recessive trait. Next, flawed shape. Pod shape. Inflated and constricted. Inflated is the dominant trait. Constricted is the recessive trait. You can see full, it is like this is the inflated, whereas constricted means somewhat wrinkles will like try a little bit. That is a constricted trait. Pod color. Pod, you know what is, first of all, I forgot to say what is pod. If this is the seeds will be present inside this small pod. The outer covering means this one. This is called as the pod. Whereas seeds will be present inside it. The outer part is known as the pod. Okay. Pod color. Green and yellow. Green is the dominant trait. Yellow is the recessive trait. Next, finally, height of the plant. Tall is the dominant, whereas dwarf or short is the recessive. So these are the 7 different contrasting characters he has chosen in his experiments, and he decides his experiments accordingly, and based on whatever the results and observations he got, he proposed 3 laws. That is law of dominance, law of segregation, law of independent assortment. First, what he did before, how he performed his experiments. Let us see first how he performed. So he began his experiments using pure line of contrasting characters. Means he has used either homozygous only. Okay, he used the parents only in homozygous conditions. That is tall plant, short plant. Like that only he has used it. Okay, he used, for example, he used pure breed of lines for contrasting characters. Means suppose if he has taken height of the plant as the contrasting, what are the contrasting characters? That is tallness and the dwarfness. So he used one parent will be homozygously tall, one parent will be homozygously short. In this way, right now only phenotypically only. Okay, so the resulting offspring, he called them as the F1 generation. Whereas the subsequent offerings, whatever he got next from this, that is called as F2 generation. So to get a F1 offspring, first he cross-pollinated. Whereas to get F2 generation, he self-pollinated it. Understood? So to get the first generation, he did a cross-pollination between 2 homozygously different plants having contrasting characters. Whereas for the F2 generation, he self-pollinated whatever the F1 offsprings he got in the, or he self-pollinated the F1's offsprings to get the F2 generation. This is how he conducted the experiments. And here you can see how Mendel, what he used to do. Mendel used to remove the stamens from the flower plant and also and transfer the pollens to the white flower of the plant. Means he cross-pollinated it, he did cross-pollination and also self-pollination. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts still here?
No.
So these are based on these experiments, he proposed 3 laws. That is law of dominance, law of segregation, law of independent assortment. So coming to the law of dominance. One allele of a pair of alleles controls a character. Usually express, please write down the definitions or I'll give simpler definitions later on also. If these are too difficult for you all, simpler definitions are also there. Okay, we'll see. Please write down the laws only, later you can write the definitions. So these are the 3 laws. Law of dominance, law of segregation and law of independent assortment. First, let us see what is law of dominance. When the parents with pure contrasting characters are crossed together, only one form of the trait appears in the next generations. The hybrid offspring will express only the dominant trait in the phenotype. Such a law is known as law of dominance. Again, When a parent with a pure contrasting characters are crossed together, only one form of a trait appears in the next generation. The hybrid of the offsprings will exhibit only the dominant trait in the phenotype.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is the first law of inheritance proposed by Mendel. So in this law, each character is controlled by a race, which usually occurs in place, and the pairs are whatever the pair are usually the offsprings we get are in heterozygous. So to explain this law, he proposed a cross known as monohybrid cross. Okay, to explain this law, he proposed a cross known as monohybrid cross. Okay, I'll explain what is monohybrid cross next. Next, we'll go to the second law, law of segregation. This is the second law proposed by the Mendel. So during the formation of the gamete, each gene separates from each other so that each gamete carries only one allele for a gene. Okay. So if you segregate this together, this one will be expressing itself, this one will be expressing on itself. So this is called as law of segregation. So the law of the segregation is the second law of inheritance. So this law explains that the pair of alleles segregate each other during a division known as meiosis. That is during the gametes formation. So that only one allele will be present in each gamete. For example, color of your hair. Your father will be having maybe black color in a heterozygous condition. Your mother will be having also a black color hair in heterozygous condition. Okay. Okay. Capital B expresses for blackness, whereas small b expresses for brown color. So when the gametes are forming, this one and this one will be separated, means will be segregated. One minute, I'll write it down. That these two pairs will be separated. Even same happens here also. This is called as segregation. So when they cross, no, we can get even brown color also if it's homozygously crossed. Okay, so this is called as law of segregation. Both these two laws are explained by using monohybrid cross only. So when they ask you in the example, if they ask you to explain law of dominance or they ask you to explain you the law of segregation, please write the definition, give a small explanation and immediately go to the monohybrid cross. For both of them. Understood?
Can you repeat, ma'am?
So in the exam, if they ask you to explain law of dominance, what you will do? You will write the definition, give a small explanation, and next go for the monohybrid cross. Okay. In the same way, law of segregation also. You will write the definition, give a small explanation, and go for the monohybrid cross. For these two laws, finally, it will be explained only by monohybrid cross. Understood? Whether it is a 3 marks question or 5 marks question, please write the monohybrid cross. For these two laws. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you show the last slide once more?
This one, law of dominance.
Okay, ma'am.
Next, law of segregation. So this week I'll give you the summary of the monohybrid cross. In the next week, we'll talk in detail about the monohybrid and dihybrid cross. So please note down this. In this way, only you need to write the monohybrid and dihybrid, what next cross, whatever I tell, in this manner. Okay, point by point. The cross between two plants with one pair of contrasting characters is called as a monohybrid cross. By this only we can understand this is explaining the law of dominance. Okay. Examples, here the example is contrasting characters taken is the tall and the short plants. So what did the Mendel do is, the Mendel crossed the tall, he has taken two parents with contrasting characters. One is homozygously tall and one is homozygously short or dwarf. Then these are then segregation has been done. This is the gametes are capital T and the small t. So now he did cross pollination. On cross pollinating, he got all the offsprings as tall plants. And this generation, he called it as F1 generation.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay.
Yes. Okay, let me explain first. Okay, any doubts? Then so this generation, he called it as F1 generation. Now what he did is, from the F1 generation, whatever he got, all the tall plants, I'm here explaining only phenotypically. Now I'm not explaining genotypically. All the tall plants, he self-pollinated it. Again. Due to that, the second generation, whatever he got, he called it as F2 generation. In this generation, he observed that some of them are tall, whereas some of them are dwarf. Based on this, what he told is, he explained it by telling the homozygously tall plants are capital T's, capital T, and dwarf plants are small t, small t. So when he cross-pollinated, he got all tall plants, which are heterozygous in condition. That is capital T and small t. So now again he self-pollinated them. Okay, he self-pollinated it. So first the gametes are segregated and then he put a cross. In that cross, he observed that all three of them are tall plants. One of them is the dwarf plant. Again, when we went in detail, we can see one is homozygously tall, two are heterozygously tall, and one is homozygously dwarf. Okay, so based on it, he kept the ratio. So phenotypically, the ratio is 3:1. Means all the three plants are tall, one plant is dwarf. Whereas xenotypically, the ratio is 1:2:1. So 1 is homozygously tall, 2 is heterozygously tall, and 1 is homozygously short. And this is how he crossed. So this T, he crossed with this one. Again, he crossed wait, I'll show you how he crossed. 1 minute. So this T, first he crossed with this one. Again, he crossed with this one. Again, this one. This T again, he crossed with this one and this with this one. Due to that, we got three tall planes and one short plane. When we see phenotypically, it is 3:1. But when we go genotypically, it is 1:2:1. Hope all of you have understood.
So he has matched capital T with both capital T and small t, and small t with both capital T and small t.
Yes, each one. This one
Okay,
he
ma'am.
crossed with this two, this one he crossed. In the same manner, you also need to put the diagram.
Okay, ma'am.
Without diagram, please don't write the monohybrid cross. Always this is required. Next week, we'll be practicing these diagrams also. Very most important questions these are. So here I missed cross-pollination. Please write down cross-pollination. And here you write self-pollination. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the same monohybrid cross, they will be asking you all to put it in a form of a Punnett square. If they ask you to write in a form of cross, you can write it in this way. If they ask you to put it in a form of a Punnett square, you can put in, this is called as the Punnett square. Everything is same. Till for F1 generation, F2 generation, everything is same. But here you need to put it in form of a square. So here the gametes will be segregated. Capital T, small t, capital T, small t. Here also we'll get 3:1, or if phenotypically or genotypically 1:2:1. But you need to put it in, if they ask you to put it in the form of Punnett square, you need to draw in this way, in a form of a box. Any doubts still here? Have you copied it? In some textbooks, older textbook, it is in form of cross. In a new textbook, in some textbook, it is in form of Punnett square. But you copy it down. Next week in the class, I'll be asking you all to draw the monohybrid cross. Please practice. Okay. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
So with this, I stop the class. Next class will continue, and be prepared for the monohybrid cross.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.